Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. Our podcast is only as good as our guests, and today is no exception. Kevin D. Turner is managing partner of TNT Brand Strategist, a technology and business-focused organizational and personal brand builder with deep expertise in visioneering, communications, culture building, and creative disruptive advantages. Kevin has optimized 4.7 thousand LinkedIn profiles and company pages and has trained 12,000 people on best practices since 2005. He achieved LinkedIn's 5-star rating and 200 plus written recommendations. He has lived in the US, Switzerland, Germany, and Japan, and has crowdsourced and fundraised over $25 million. He's held sales and marketing, branding, and leadership roles with SONY, American Teachers Association, American Heart Association, and more. Welcome to the show, Mr. Turner.
Lyndsay, thank you very much. I love that intro. It just seems odd to hear about yourself.
Yeah, I know.
In a sense, but it's exciting.
You wouldn't be on the show if you weren't doing great things. And anyone that knows me knows I'm very passionate about LinkedIn, and a lot of my input and knowledge comes from you. But would you do us a service and tell everyone a little bit about your background, your story?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm unique. I guess we all are, right? In the sense that I'm first generation American, born in Washington, D.C. So technically I don't have a state of birth, right? My parents, my father was English, my mother was Irish, proves that can actually work, right? They were happily married until they were in their late 90s, and they both have moved on, and I miss them dearly, but they structured a lot of resilience, creativity. They were both artists. They were both illustrators. They were both writers, and they were very businesslike. Mm-hmm. And so really unusual in that sense. My mom actually learned how to fly a pontoon plane in Canada, but before she could drive, right? She's flying planes. She's running cargo into areas that, take pioneer survival people.
Wow.
That's what she was doing as a kid. And so those are the kind of things they instilled in me. So adventure has always been a big piece of what I do, and helping others. I love that. And then I'm a big tech person in the sense of I have tried coding, right? Long time ago, a lot of code. I'm not that good. And now AI can write your code for you. So that's even better. But I love technology.
Yeah.
But I know that's also kind of a double-edged sword, right? You can get cut on one side, you can also cut from the other. And so you have to be careful with this stuff, and you have to understand what it's doing, what does it take, and then how can you use that to best build your brand, to get you to your goals, whatever your mission is, right? It's kind of figuring that out, but technology has got some great opportunities for us. And LinkedIn is one of those. I mean, amazing. I started on LinkedIn back in 2005. And loved the fact that I could stay connected to people globally. And so I've lived in 5 countries. I've done business in 140. I even had kind of crazy. I had 3 high schools in 3 different states, from Maryland to New Jersey to Texas. If I'd thrown California in there, I would have been completely nuts.
Right.
But it taught me to stay connected with people, to connect with people, right? And to be that odd person out all the time was kind of how I grew up.
Yeah.
And you resolve that quickly. But LinkedIn to me is that connectivity now that keeps all these people, all these relationships I've had over the years. We're all connected on a daily basis. I see people, from Brazil that comment on something, and, from the UAE, from Canada, even from Oklahoma, and they're connecting.
Yeah.
Don't see them all the time, but it's enough to know I've got a feel for them. I know what's changing in their life. I know what they're thinking about. I can think of them when opportunities come up. And without LinkedIn, I don't think that would have happened that way. So to me, that's why I'm such a, LinkedIn enthusiast.
Yeah, well, me too. And I don't think I fully embraced LinkedIn until I really went out on my own. I mean, as a corporate citizen, of course, I had a profile, and every time I got a promotion or I got some recognition or I was being featured on something, I shared. But for the most part, it was just the place where I went when I was mad, and I was like, "I'm going to quit your job," and then I'd get so distracted, nothing would happen. It wasn't really until I was out on my own that I took it seriously and learned what an incredible landscape it is. Now, you share all the time, all the updates we have. And at this point in the year, and by the time this airs, it will be many more. But at this point in the year, I think it was 140 updates that LinkedIn has gone through this year. And that's incredible. But you do a lot of work in finding these updates. Can you explain like how you collect them and why you think it's important for people to know?
And you're right. We're at 140 plus. I think we're going to be at 200 by the end of the year, wow, because I think Microsoft has given LinkedIn a new feature quota, right? Yeah. Figured it out last year, it was 100. Boom, they got just over 100. Figured out the year before it was 50. They got just over 50, right? I think this year it's 200, and that's why we're in this kind of crazy pace of these things popping in and out. I always tell people, first of all, don't get FOMO, don't get worried. New features are neat. They're fun. They could be a competitive advantage if you have them, and you always get your turn at having it first, but they don't change the core value of LinkedIn, and that's the ability to network and communicate, right? That's there, whether you got a free account, a premium account, a sales navigator, a recruiter. The best of LinkedIn is free, and it's there, and it's not in new features, but again, we get excited about those new features.
Right.
And, you
and I joke that
not all me.
They move. Yeah, well, no, you find them from a lot of different people, and that's what I love
from inside LinkedIn. I've got a few friends there who, if I guess things right, they stop talking to me, so I know I've got something right. Yeah. So that's one area. I keep an eye on changing code, which is kind of the geekier side, and then I've just got a group of people that are constantly using LinkedIn, and they find little bits and pieces, and I always, call them my team with eagle eyes and sharing hearts, right? Yeah. They want everybody to know this stuff. They want to share it. And in that process, they come to me because people have been following that. I keep a nice list. I give them credit. I don't have to have
you
credit.
do. And
I don't want credit, because then that little resource would stop coming to me. And it's fantastic because, again, the way LinkedIn rollouts come out, it's a 5-wave process. It's completely randomized. So you never know if you're going to be in what wave, right? Yeah. They're always timed. And then they are set up so that they can fix things as they go along. So they're looking to see, did they use it? Did it work? Did it break? Did it shut down the site? It's the reason that LinkedIn rolls it out this way is because LinkedIn was never designed to be what it is today. Right. It was basically a place to put a resume. We didn't even have pictures. We didn't have the ability to post. We didn't have all that stuff. You could look at jobs, you could post your resume. That was LinkedIn. And it's evolved now to this just incredible platform that gives us a lot of power. But the code is a mess. I think it's all spaghetti code, right? They pull one thing out and 4 break.
Well, it's reactive, right?
Yeah. And so that's why they do those rollouts, because if they came up with a new feature and they gave every one of us that new feature and the site blew up and went down for 4 days, then we'd really be mad at LinkedIn.
Right. So I'd
rather wait a little bit and get it when it's working than,
Yeah. You've announced stuff and I've been in like the 3rd or the 4th wave and I get so mad. I'm like, but it does come.
You the alternative, which is completely blowing up and going down for a week,
Understood.
We don't need that.
You share some really interesting statistics about LinkedIn. I think one of them was about comparing it to other platforms. Would you share?
LinkedIn, because of the design of LinkedIn, is the only wildly profitable social media platform since year one. You think about Facebook. Facebook hasn't made $1 yet. Twitter, X, is losing money, right?
Yeah.
They burn through investor funding. They're not making money, but LinkedIn really thought about how do we build this site, and they knew very early on it was going to be about networking, right? And they actually bought into a patent out there that was held, I think, by Macrovision, and it's called the 6 degrees of separation. So within 6 handshakes, you can meet anybody in the world. So LinkedIn said, you know what, we're going to build a site based on that, and we're going to cut you off at 3 handshakes. So we can either sell you to the other 3 or the other 3 to you. And so that became the business model, is actually selling members to other members. It's a $17 billion company was the last annual number I saw. 65% of it comes from selling members to other members. Recruiter and Sales Navigator. And what is kind of fascinating when you think about it, we're not the customer, we're the product of LinkedIn. Right. So they're selling us to make their revenue, right? And so the better we are at being a product on LinkedIn, the more they promote us. So it's about really kind of looking at that LinkedIn and going, how do I become a better product, a more accurate product, right? How do I get involved? And so LinkedIn rewards us for what I call the timed value of activity, right? The more active we are, LinkedIn looks at that and says, well, if you're doing all this stuff, you're posting, you're commenting, you're doing all these things, your profile must be very accurate, because you don't want to send people back to that profile.
Yeah, right.
Hadn't been updated in 5 years, right? So we know that's good. So we're going to promote you, because if we're selling members to other members, we've got to rank those and say, what's the best product to sell to our customer? Because we don't want to lose that customer, right? And so that's really what's going on. So the more involved you get in LinkedIn, and the more you perfect that profile and all the features within that profile, the better they look at you as a perfect product and they promote you.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's exciting.
We've seen a lot of shifts with the algorithm over the last year. I think there was some complaints that it was feeling a little Facebooky, that people were doing too many selfies and too many, non-business related things. And now they're really much more interested in seeing, good information and, useful things that can help people. So can you share, actually, I just wanted to share this. I read a statistic, and tell me if I'm right, that 2/3 of the LinkedIn population are between the ages of 25 and 34. And I thought that was pretty mind-blowing, because I think a lot of people assume it's for, the gray-haired, older corporate people, but it's really not. It's pretty impressive how young it is.
Those are digital natives, right? They grew up with digital technology, with connectivity, with things like Facebook and Instagram and, phones that are basically massive computers. Yeah. There's more technology in my iPhone than what was used to get the shuttle, right? Out there into space.
So crazy.
To me, that's why they're there. They get this, it's very comfortable to them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that LinkedIn has done such a good job capturing an older audience as well. Because to me, that's always a challenge, right? And so LinkedIn's just got a wonderful, I think, demographic overall of, who's kind of contributing into, business, on a global scale. And I think it's neat to see, because there's very few sites. Most of them are usually focused in one segment only, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So we couldn't have you on without talking about some best practices. You want to give 3 of your recommended best practices for a regular user, whether they're corporate or entrepreneur? I don't care.
I think the number one thing, if we think about LinkedIn as a database, right? We're almost 1 billion members. You have a choice. You can be 1 in 1 billion or number 1 in 1 billion, right? The way you become number 1 in 1 billion is whenever you're filling out your profile on LinkedIn, there's little slots, right? And you start filling it out, a drop-down box will appear.
Right.
That drop-down box is what I call market value filters. If you select a market value filter, you can then be found and understood by LinkedIn's database.
Attention, visionary leaders. Are you ready to elevate your leadership style and create an exceptional workplace that stands out from the crowd? I'm here to introduce you to a game-changing resource that will transform the way you lead and shape your company culture. It's time to embrace the power of top-down culture. This practical guide empowers your leadership for lasting success, helping you create a workplace where everyone thrives. Get top-down culture today, and let's reshape the future of leadership together. So you're saying, if you are a president of a company, president will drop down, but a chief heartbeat officer won't. So if you select president, you'll be seen. But if you write chief heartbeat officer, which you can do because I've done it, you won't be seen. So that's a really great tip.
I'm surprised they constantly update these too, because I noticed that chief happiness officer now is officially a title, right? So they're trying to evolve with it, but they got to understand what those titles are. We learned this many years ago. We helped the head of HR for Yahoo transition, and his title was Cloud9 Navigator, right? Internet company. That makes sense. Everybody had weird names inside Yahoo.
Right.
We put him down as chief human resource officer because that's what he was.
Right.
And within 2 weeks, he was scalped right off LinkedIn for a huge opportunity. When it was time, he was ready to do that. So that's using those market value titles. The next component of LinkedIn is make sure you're using the right visuals, right? To stimulate people. Get that profile picture in there. Make sure I can see that it's you, right? That I connect with you. Don't make, you're only this big and, way back here, or you're with your dogs. I love wiener dogs too, but don't want to have those in your profile picture. You really want it to be about you, and you want it to connect, right? Because LinkedIn is about building trust, and you want that picture to be current.
Yes, I always say modern.
The last thing you want to do is show up in public in real life, and they're like, "What happened to you?"
Oh my God,
you look like a teenager in your picture, and now.
Kevin, this is funny story. I had a guy I worked with. This was long before the era of Zoom, and we were doing conference calls all the time. We became great friends, and I finally got the chance to meet him at a conference. And we're on the phone trying to find each other, and we said where we were going to meet. And I said, "I don't see you. And he's like, "I'm right in front of you." And I'm looking past him, and I'm not seeing anything. And then he goes, "I'm right here." I said, "You were there. Where's your hair?" And he's like, "Oh, that was a 10-year-old picture. I just like it. I'm bald now."
and they don't realize that some people may never have figured out what the difference was. Right. Yeah, they're presenting maybe, and you're going and you're staring at them, and you've stared at their picture on their profile for months, and then you're looking at them up there, and you don't know what the difference is, and you just know that you don't trust them anymore. Very much. If I shaved my beard off, I would get a profile picture without the beard, because if I showed up somewhere, they wouldn't know. It took my wife 4 days to figure out when I shaved my beard that I didn't have a beard. And my kids, they picked it up in 2. That's how people are, right? But they are like, immediately they're looking at you like something's weird, something's strange. And that's what you want going on in your head. Now, those visuals follow through that profile. You got that great background banner, right? That's going to establish your professional self in that sense. So be careful what picture goes in there. Don't take those 3 shades of gray default, right? Because that's a bad message 24/7. And don't pick things like golf, fishing,
or a skyline.
Skyline. To me, if somebody can't find you, let's say your boss can't find you, and your background picture is fly fishing in Montana, and I'm your boss, I'm thinking you're fly fishing in Montana, right? And I'm not happy because I'd like to be. So be careful with the background banners, but bring in something that brings your you to your goals. And the other nice creative thing you can do, that if you want contact, put your contact in the banner. Because it can't be scraped by bots. It takes a human to write them down, right? Because it's a graphic, but it's a great way to get connectivity. You could send them to your website. You could give them an email address that you've set up just for that connectivity. You could get a Google number if you don't want to give out your cell. Put it into that background banner, and believe it or not, you will get a huge increase in the right connectivity, the people connectivity. Now,
well, and it's a huge piece of real estate. So when people leave the banner to their own company logo or a skyline or something that doesn't really represent them, they're wasting that space. And it's like a billboard. So it's the first thing you see. So I totally agree with you on that.
Sometimes I will tell you, sometimes the company logo can be a huge value to the individual, because if the company is worried about you being out there, being a brand ambassador, right? You're going crazy, but they come to your profile and you look very company loyal, right? That takes down those flags. If you're active on LinkedIn and you don't want the company to think, well, Lyndsay's going out to find a new job, but they come to the profile and the company is incorporated into the brand, you're much safer. right?
So let's talk about that for a second, because I talk to a lot of people that are just starting to get their feet wet on LinkedIn. They were like me, you know, they had their profile forever, but they never did anything with it. And they're worried about their company saying, "Oh, you're going out and updating your LinkedIn." I mean, I know what I tell them and how they should address it, but what do you say?
But that's usually where I say, incorporate the company brand into your own. It will help you at work.
Yep.
If they notice you've upped the level of your profile and your activity and they come to your page, right? They're going to be very impressed that, oh, wow, Lyndsay's all about the company, but it may also get them to read into what you've done, right? Because often the company doesn't really remember you after hiring, right? It's about what you did there. They might go in there and go, wow, I didn't know Lyndsay also can do this. And she also does that. And she's got this thing over here that she does, for, charity that does this. And we need to get into that. You open up a conversation by bringing in the brand. And so to me, that's the safest thing to do. And here's I think the best part about this, because you bring in corporate brand, you become actually more attractive to recruiters, which is kind of crazy because a recruiter is paid anywhere from 10 to 50% of your first year salary as their bonus if they land you, right? They're commission salespeople.
Right.
They look at that, and the number one thing a company says, if I'm going to pay you that kind of money, because I already have an applicant tracking system, I already got an HR group, I've already got all this stuff, I should be able to find this person, but I can't. So if I'm going to pay you this kind of money, I want exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And that's called a purple squirrel definition. Have you ever seen a purple squirrel?
I actually worked with a company called Purple Squirrel.
There you go. Now, well, you're my recruiter now. Bring me 5 purple squirrels by Friday, right? It's like, it's the impossible.
Yeah.
Number one definition is steal them away from the competition.
Right.
So the more company loyal you appear, actually, the more attractive you are to recruiters, because a recruiter will talk to you for 5 minutes on the phone, right?
That's right.
And when they call that company, they're like, you know what? We have such a great relationship with Lyndsay that because of that relationship, I can get her to come over here and talk to you. She is so company loyal. It's going to be a hard steal, but that relationship, I can get her here, but you better take care of her. What they're really saying is pay her well so I can get a bigger commission, right? So
right.
It all pulls together, and you make it easier on recruiters when you do these kind of things. Not the reason to do it,
but I think
to do it.
This is actually a great segue, because one of the things I love to tell people is tell them you're working on your personal brand, and tell them that you hired a coach. And whether that means you took a class from me or from you or from any of the other LinkedIn experts out there, there's no threat. It just means I understand I need to build my personal brand, and even be proactive about it and say to your boss, hey, I don't want you to get nervous. I just hired a coach. I understand that it's really important to build my personal brand. I'm still going to be posting all the stuff that you guys give us from your marketing materials, but it's going to look a lot better. So I just wanted you to know that that's what's going on. To me, that was like a real kind of neutral way to approach it. And then they get curious and they say, oh my gosh, who'd you go to? I want to see that. Maybe we can do that for the whole team. So can we talk a little bit about companies that should be investing in their people and teaching them to build their personal brand? What are your thoughts?
I think they all should. I mean, if you think about it, if a company puts something out there, it's an ad, right? We don't respond to ads. We don't respond to spam. We don't respond to that kind of stuff. But if an employee takes that same content and puts it out, and we have a relationship with that employee, we like them, they're good people, we'll probably look at that ad in that sense and go, well, that makes sense, right? So I always think that companies that are smart are embracing these kind of brand ambassador, and they're actually cultivating them, right? They're helping them along. They're giving them things they can talk about. They're giving them a structure so they know when they have gone just far enough or not too far, right? And they help them in that process. And then if they do make a mistake, they don't slam them down and shut them off, and they talk about it, right? This is what we'd prefer to have happen. And, it should be one of those things that by doing that, you grow just this incredible group of ambassadors that are promoting the company by not promoting the company, right? By just kind of incorporating it into everything they do. Bob Berg, I don't know if you know Bob Berg, the Go Giver author, always had that incredible quote, and I'll probably get this wrong and you'll probably shoot me, but it's
I
all
won't
things
shoot you.
equal, right? All things equal, we buy from people that we know, like, and trust,
That's right.
right? And that's what it is. And so companies who don't embrace the people we know, like, and trust won't get that extra benefit of the additional sale, right?
Yeah. And to reinforce what you just said, brands are 82% more trustworthy when executives post. So all these people that say, I don't have time for it, or it's not worth my time, it actually really is. It's really helpful for your brand and for you. And I think, I think Madeline Mann was the one that coined the phrase that said, there's no such thing as job security. There's only career security. And LinkedIn is the perfect place to cultivate that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And those executives who go out and or contribute to the employees who do, they create connectivity with their employees like you can't imagine. A CEO that will go out there and find a salesperson or sales manager that's presenting something and make a nice comment about it.
Yeah.
There is connectivity there.
Yeah.
People
Let's talk
feel
a little
more
bit.
attached to that organization.
Let's talk a little bit about engagement, because I think what people miss is when they're delving into LinkedIn for the first time, they're like, oh my God, I have to be a content creator. And that's really that's not the truth. I think the people that are growing the fastest are the ones who are engaging on other people's content. Do you agree? And is that your observation?
I think it's a definite contributor. Again, LinkedIn looks at activity, right, as accuracy of data, so they'll promote you as a product, right? So that all fits into that, and so you can get the same kind of charge that you get from posting, you can get from commenting. Now, commenting has to be done right? Right. It's not a great post.
No.
Yeah, it is adding value, having a discussion, bringing things to the table in that process, and having multiple comments back and forth.
Right.
That's what LinkedIn recognizes as a true value, and that's really what we should strive to do if we're doing this. To me, I would suggest, if they are concerned about that, creating their own content, then definitely follow content creators they like. Now, LinkedIn sometimes makes that hard to do. You go to your feed, it's full of stuff. It's with people you don't care about, you don't like. You can cultivate that by clicking the three little dots, saying, I don't want to see this, blocking certain people, unfollowing certain people. All that's a lot of work. And the AI still gets in the way sometimes and just gives you a bunch of junk.
Sure.
One of the things I always suggest, and I've got a great YouTube video on this, that's creating a favorites content creator filter. So what you do is you go into the search mode, right? You search for people, you find, you just open the search, and in there you can actually define who those people are, right? And so, you define that, pardon me, not people search, content search. And then you define the people you want content from. You define the time frame. I'm very active, so I only want the last 24 hours.
Right.
Some people come in once a week, they might want the last week, right? So you define the time frame and you define the individuals. And what that's going to show you when you do that search, it's just going to do a stream of what they've posted in that time frame, just those individuals, no ads, which is nice, and nothing else. Now, you've done that. If you don't want to have to do that every single time, take that, bookmark it in your browser, right? Name it, favorite content creators. I've got actually probably 7 bookmarks. One of them has over 160 individuals in it, right? So there's no limit in that sense. It doesn't change, and it will always bring you back to that perfect content. So you can kind of get past the feed stuff, save a lot of time, really focus. And this would be important if you want to, let's say, move up within your company. You want to have every executive that does anything out there, you want to have them on that content list, right? That's your company content. You want to click that, look at it. Okay, Bob posted, Jane posted, I'm getting in there. I'm going to make a nice comment. I'm going to support them. Even if you're only going in and doing a reaction to begin with, people on the other side notice it because they're like, well, nobody reacted to my post except for Lyndsay. Thank you, Lyndsay, right? Or, and then take it that next step.
Yeah. And I'll just say this, PSA for all the content creators out there. For the people that are the lurkers, guys, You have no idea how much it means when you actually like a post. It really does help us. And, you know, when you're out there trying to put out good information and you're making good creative comments or good visuals, you know, and I have so many friends that'll be like, oh my God, I love everything you post. I make my husband watch all of it. I'm like, you have never liked a single post of mine. What is wrong with you? And a lot of people are afraid of how it makes them look, like, especially if you're talking about leadership, and it makes them look like, oh yeah, you hate me as your leader. I see that. But I do really think it means something. It really does matter. So.
And you want to build a relationship. I've had so many people that come to me like, I've been following you for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like, really?
See you in any of my posts. Oh. I said, you know, I want you in there. I want you to do this the next time. I want you in there, and, you know, let's start that share. But I always call them, and I don't like the term lurkers, because
I know
it's so negative. I call them listeners or learners, right?
Yep.
They're there to do one or the other.
Much nicer than lurkers.
I think so. We try to be nice, right? Because that's how we get better. Yeah. And it took me a while to think, you know, what are they really? And they are. They're learners. They want to learn.
Yeah.
From you. They're just not ready to join in. Yeah. And I think that's fine, because it still helps the momentum, right? It's an additional view of that content. But if they can take that one step further, then LinkedIn's going to start rewarding them. And so that's, you know, not only do they get to build a relationship with you, but LinkedIn starts to reward them because they are becoming active.
So what do you think is on the horizon for LinkedIn, maybe finishing out the year or even further?
AI, big push in AI, and a push in AI towards premium, you know, which they've been doing, right? I really believe that they're going to do more in the job seeker AI component.
Agreed.
And that is, you know, giving you advice, helping you create posts that, you know, would be interactable by employment people, right? Doing things like that to help guide people who are in the job search move forward, right? And I think there's going to be a big piece of that. We've heard that it's going to be called job seeker coach or AI coach. To me, it's a good start point. There's a lot of things that artificial intelligence can do for you, right? I always warn people that AI is a great muse, right? But it's a terrible artist.
Yeah, agreed.
It can help you, but you got to be careful, because muses can get you either success or in big trouble, right? They're not always right. They sometimes put you in a situation. So you've got to really do it with a very critical eye.
You do.
Move that forward, right? But they can be extremely helpful. And so I think, you know, even with this AI being incorporated into LinkedIn, people should take it with that additional kind of critical eye, just saying, does that make sense for me? Is that the way I see things? How can I use the good components of it to move forward, right? And so I think that's going to be happening. I hope LinkedIn stops taking away things from what I call freemium, right? The free accounts. They did that just this week. They're testing out restricting personalized invites. Why would you stop somebody with a free account from having more than 10 personalized invites a month?
What?
That makes no sense. I would say stop them from having blank invites, right? You can only have 10 blank invites a month. The rest have to be personalized.
Wow.
They have to score well, right? That's what I would do. But they got to stop taking from free and trying to add it to premium, and just get new stuff for premium, because it is a business. We get it. They've got to make money, right? They got to make more money. They're making incredible amounts of money, but that's their business. Yeah, that's their business. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I just think they really need to keep that freemium whole as it is now, because you can get into LinkedIn and you can pretty much get everything done with a freemium account. You don't need to step into the next level if you're not maximizing that freemium.
Agreed. So I ask all of my guests these questions. So what is your inspiration, or what inspires you?
People. I think just interaction with people, my family, my wife, my kids, my friends, colleagues, people I interact with daily on LinkedIn. But it's always people that really kind of get me fired up and, I don't know, just excited about life.
That's great.
And, we don't always agree.
Yeah.
We're always respectable, right, to each other. And that's the way it should be. So I believe in sometimes a little discourse is good, right? It makes us think. I have changed my thoughts on things because I had a lot of really good people who think differently than I did and helped me understand why. But if you shut down and you're not respectful, then that's not going to happen. So to me, people are my inspiration, and people who want to just, I guess, bring in other people into the circle, right? To talk with people, to understand people, to kind of share and grow. And, we change them, they change us, and I think that's always my inspiration.
And what would you like your legacy to be?
I think that I help a lot of people do better at what they do. Right. So they can help others. And, I ask that because people will come back and say, you did so much for me by telling me about this, this, and this. What can I do for you? And it's not, what can you do for me? It's what can you do for somebody else who also needs something like that? And so to me, if that's my legacy, I'm beyond happy.
Well, you are well on your way, my friend. Guys, if you are not connected with Kevin on LinkedIn, be sure to follow him and definitely check out his YouTube channel. He gives such incredible tips and so many ways to find things. I tell you, I teach a LinkedIn workshop and I always teach how to find your QR code. So when you're networking, and I'm like, Kevin, where did it go? And of course, I didn't know this until I was live in the class, but he saved me. I was able to follow up with everybody, but he is such a wealth of information. So Kevin, thank you for being on the show. This was so much fun. And I hope everybody got a lot out of it. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. Take care of yourselves and stay well. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. If you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would be ever so grateful. I hope you found it useful. Have a wonderful day.